I traveled to Portugal, as you guys know, on Sunday. I left my house around 12. I was dropped off over there by my wife's mom. And then once we arrived over there, well, that's the crazy part. My flight was at 4. There was no one at the airport, like absolutely no one. It was like full on empty areas. You could go through customs, check in, security, drop bag, everything. There was literally no one. About like 100 people scattered throughout the entire airport was what I saw as I was walking by. I went through customs or security, or whatever you want to call it, super quick. There was absolutely no issue whatsoever. Every staff member was using gloves, was using masks. So up to then, I'm like, okay, this is understandable. This is fine. I mean, there's not much that can be done with the fact that they're trying to prevent the employees from getting, sick and such. So I'm okay with that. I'm happy. So I went through that, went through the, well, duty free, whatever they want to call it, and then got to the plane. Plane was very empty, but not only that, but like the entire gate to get to the plane, to board the plane, was next to another gate, which was an automated gate kind of boarding procedure. I think it's the only one on that airport that I know of, and it's the only one that has been used by EasyJet. So they were doing that on one flight. And then on my flight, it was still the staff member was over there checking out passports and such. But the procedures were everyone should stay at least 1 meter away, and as everyone is just like waiting in line to get to board the plane, they were getting people to come in by checking their passports, checking their ID, but the person who was actually taking the passport and taking the ID to check, they were not grabbing it, and if they were, in special cases or in certain cases, they had gloves on, and immediately after they were passing disinfectant, alcohol and gel, whatever. So that was fine. That was like the start of this crazy thing. And then I flew empty. The row in front of me, 2 rows in front of me empty, 2 rows behind me empty. The guys like the 2 seats next to me empty. It was a very empty flight. Like about, I don't know, 40 people in that flight in total. I had my mask on throughout the flight because I thought, why not? Horrible. I hate wearing those masks. Even though it's a good one and it has an actual filter and everything else, like it's not a gas mask, but it's a proper decent mask. It's horrible because I wear glasses. Every time I have that mask on and I breathe in, when I breathe out, it fogs up my entire glasses, so I couldn't see shit most of the time. Anyways, that said, I arrived over there. The airport in Lisbon was insane. Like literally no one at the airport, and police was called to escort a couple of people out of the plane. Not entirely sure why, but I'm assuming is like, I don't know, suspicious or something like that. So I already saw that. I've already bulleted through the security, and there was no queue whatsoever to go through customs over there. So I just got there. The guy took my passport, was like, all right, cool, bye. Went in and then straight out, and then grabbed an Uber, which is like cheap, hella cheap. It was about like 5 kilometers away from the airport is where roughly I was gonna stay, and the Uber costed like €3, 3 to 4 euros. It was super cheap. Again, outside the airport, empty, no sign of life, just a couple of few scattered people every now and then, but like super empty. Stores closed and everything else. Okay, I arrived there roughly at 7:30 to 8. I went directly to my Airbnb. The host was amazing. She had bought like food and supplies and left it in, like long lasting ones, left it in the Airbnb for anyone that arrives to her Airbnb either early or like sometimes you arrive 3 in the morning, all shops are closed and such. Then she also took me a little tour around the block and around the area to show me where I could buy stuff and such. Perfect. Up to then, fine. Went to sleep. Turned on the news. I understand Portuguese because Portuguese is my first language, and Portugal's Portuguese is slightly different, but it's fully understandable by the Brazilian one. So I turned on the news, and I hear this: the president or whatever. I think it was the government. I don't know what the translation is. It was the like basically the chief and all the massive powers in Portugal were gonna get together on Monday at 2 o'clock to talk about declaring state of emergency and fully lock down the shit. I panicked. I could only sleep at 3 in the morning, and having to wake up. No, sorry, at 2 in the morning, having to wake up at 5. That's when I could sleep. So I slept for 3 hours. I woke up, chugged an energy drink, and then went out. I had to be at this place called Campus da Justiça, which is a justice campus or something, where you do the things. So I had to go there. The second I arrive, this is one of the craziest things I've ever seen. People are queuing at 6:30 in the morning for a place that only opens at 9. And there were about 30 people there. 30 people, like about 25 in front of me, and then 3 behind me, or 4 behind me. When I got to the queue, and we were just waiting, and then we see people coming in, going into the building, who are like the employees and the workers and everything else and the staff. And I think they were mutinying. They were literally going at, and like, they didn't want to work. They literally didn't want to work. So eventually, roughly 8 o'clock, comes out. The two ladies comes out. They're all dressed with massive like clothing protection, gloves, masks, and everything else. And they immediately go like, if you're here to renew your passport, renew any documentation, renew your citizenship card, go home. We are not renewing anything. So from by that time, it was like 40, 50 people. Everyone left, basically. It was like 20, 30 people leaving because they were not going to stay there. But before they left, they had to argue, and they were like, why not? What is happening? Blah, blah, blah. So massive confusion happens. Security was called. Police was called. And then we were waiting for them to say the next things. And then immediately they go and say, from tomorrow onwards, we're only doing anything with an appointment. And I panic. I don't have an appointment. But immediately, I'm smart. I've already went to the website and made an appointment by me, as she is saying. So I paid attention to her doing that. Made 2 appointments, one for Tuesday and one for Wednesday. The Tuesday one, 9:30 in the morning at a different location. Wednesday at 5:30 at the airport. So I'm like, not at the airport, at this place. So I'm kind of panicking because that's my passport and I need it to fly out. And I'm like, okay, how the hell am I going to be able to do this? She also said that over there today, which was Monday, they weren't doing a single passport at all. No passports were done. So she pissed off a lot more people. People left again, very disappointed. Massive crowd, massive issues. Another restriction, only 4 people at a time are going into the building. And then once they exit, 4 more people go in. So the waiting area, which was inside the building, was not going to be used. Everyone was told to wait outside in the freezing cold and the massive wind. By roughly 9:05, there was like about 6 people in front of me, so I was the second group to go in. I went there and I was like, all right, I can do my citizenship card here. I can ask for it. First time ever doing it, so it was not renewing it. I was allowed to do it. You had to do it with extreme urgency, or else they wouldn't do it. So if you couldn't prove that you needed extreme urgency, you wouldn't be able to do it. That freaked me out. But anyways, I had to do it with extreme urgency. That's fine. Did it. The lady, already as I got to the little balcony thing that she was gonna do it for me, she was pissed. You could feel the vibe going across the entire room. She was like, I don't want to be here. I don't want to do shit. The second I sit down, she just asks, give me your documents, give me what you need, tell me what you need, let's do it. And she started working, no talk, no anything. And I go like, I have my mask on, and I go like, do you know anywhere I can do the passport? She's go like, no passports are being done today. It was like super rude, and I'm like, okay, is it gonna ever be done? And she's like, no, it's not gonna be done. Now stop asking questions. I'm like, okay. That's awkward as fuck. Yeah, it was a lot of work in that, indeed. Then we got to she did it there. She did the request, and it was with extreme urgency, which in my understanding was it was going to be done and finished by the end of the day, meaning I would come back at like 5:30, which is the time, and I would pick up my citizenship card, and therefore I would have that one day. She told me it was only going to be done by 5:30 the next day. I kind of freaked out. Anyways, once I left, right in front, I had met a couple of Brazilians who were in the same situation as me, and they actually lived around Dublin. We were just having a chat. It's like a couple. We were just having a chat. I was talking to them. They were talking, and it's exactly the same situation, but they needed it with extreme urgency, and they needed it before Wednesday, so before today, because tomorrow Ireland is going into lockdown. No one comes in or comes out. And he needed it with extreme urgency because his visa for work was ending. So therefore, he has kind of like a more priority than me in a sense. Anyways, so I exchanged my numbers with them and I told them, all right, I'm gonna go to the airport because I've researched and I've heard that you can do your passport at the airport. I'm not entirely sure if that's true. I'll go check it out. It's about like 10-minute driving. Not me, Uber again, but what, 3-4 euros for that? Easy. So I've done that. Exchanged my number with them. Went to the airport. Hell broke loose. Terminal 1 of the airport, we had queues outside the airport. Like, no one was allowed to go inside if they were going to board there or go to a check-in or something. There were cancellations of all kinds of sorts. There were people who had flights canceled to everywhere. Lucky me, I could go in because I wasn't going for this. It was literally insane. I saw police restricting every single door on the airport to go in and making everyone go through one door. And they were armed. They were, they had their guns on hold and everything else, just waiting for someone to do some shit. Anyways, so I got in. I go to the passport store. That's what they call it. And I asked if I could do it with all the documentations that I had, because I was a bit like, if I can make the process go, I might be able to get it today still. But they said no, I needed a citizenship card before I could actually come and apply for the passport. So that made me panic a little bit. Meanwhile, the Brazilian people that I've got over there, like got contact, they sent me a message saying that her husband, which is the one that was going for, has been told that it would be ready in 1 hour. And I'm like, what kind of urgency did he request? And I noticed that he had requested the same urgency as I did. So I'm like, okay, 1 hour, I'll be back there. So in 1 hour. So I told them, all right, you can do the passport here as long as you have the citizenship card. So I freaked out. I was like, okay, took an Uber back over there. Actually, took an Uber to my place that I was staying, and which was basically like 3-minute walking, 4-minute walking from that place. So took a place there, took a shower. Took a shower, got some snacks because I've only ate something at like 6 in the morning. I've only ate something very early and I was starving and I hadn't slept well, so I'm like, okay, let's figure out what's happening. Took a shower because I needed to disinfect myself and feel a bit cleaner. Then dressed up and went back to the place. Just so you guys know, I've probably went back to that place just on Monday around 10-15 times. So I got back there at around 11. I've done my thing at 9 in the morning, and they said in 1 hour we'll be ready. So I got there at 11. I was like, all right, someone told me to be here at 11 to pick up my thing. Then they took me in, and the person was like, no, it's been sent to the whatever place to do at 11. And it wasn't going to be ready in 1 hour. It will be ready at 1 o'clock. I'm like, oh, you're kidding me. I was like, okay, I will be there. I will be back at 1 o'clock. That's fine. I'll go out, go eat something for lunch. So I go outside, and then this time I catch an Uber to go to an actual place that have like some food and things that I can actually eat. Because most restaurants in that entire area was like closed. There was nothing. There were no one on the streets, no cars going by, just Ubers and such. So I caught the Uber. I went to a place which I know has some restaurants nearby. This Uber I start talking with him and he talks to me and be like, yeah, about 2 passengers before you, I took someone that was like a higher up that worked at the place, and he said that they're by midnight tonight. This is Monday. Midnight tonight, we're gonna go into lockdown. They're gonna close everything. No one is leaving. No one is entering. But that's only after the president has the conversation at 2, in the massive meeting. Dude, I panicked because I was like, shit, I'm gonna be stranded in a country in which I don't have a home, I don't have my supplies, my food, my comfort, my bed, and everything is being closed, therefore I will be like homeless, kinda. So I panicked. From there, I'm just thinking, I have to get this thing. I'll have to be back there at 1 o'clock. I have to sort this thing out. I have to go ASAP and find out how I can get my passport so I can leave the crap out of the country, right? So I go to the restaurant. I'm like, I can't do anything. I can't push anything. I just have to make sure I'm back at 1. Fine. Sit at the restaurant. It's me, 3 waiters at the restaurant. All waiters, gloves, mask, hair tie thingy. Not even in close proximity. They came in, to order. They all had electronic stuff to order. They were not being close to you, which is fine. It was just me at the restaurant. Food was delicious, so yeah, I praised them for that. They were really cool. So I ate, went back over there, but this time I decided to go walking because I had like it was 11:30, 12. I'm like, yeah, I have a lot of time to do this. I'll just go walking slow. Got there at roughly 12:50 in hopes that because there's no traffic that the document would arrive earlier because it's easy to drive with no traffic on the road. So I got there and asked them, and they were like, "No, no, no. Who said that it was going to be ready at 1? It's only going to be ready at 5:30." And I'm like, panic. I'm panicking hard, and I'm just thinking, what am I going to do? What am I going to do? What am I going to do? So I decided to walk back home. Meanwhile, I had my Brazilian friends that I made over there. They were gonna go there at roughly 1 to 2 to ask if it was ready. So I told them like, you guys can come at 1 to 2. I don't think they told me it's only gonna be ready at 5:30, and they said no, we'll go there and check it out. If it is, we'll let you know. So I go back home, take another shower. As I'm walking back home, the only people that I saw on the streets were the elderly, like old dudes and old guys on their little tiny little bar that they just hang out, drink coffee, and just talk gossip or whatever. I was like, why would the elderly be doing that? Anyways, I get home, take a shower, and then I just lay in bed and watch TV. I plug in and hope for the 2 o'clock meeting thing that was going to be broadcasted. What is going to be the resolution? Is Portugal going into lockdown or not? From all of that, I was watching the news. They had 331 cases that had increased from the 230 at the beginning of the day to 331. They had 4,600 and something people in suspicion and constant surveillance. They had about 2,000 people in self-isolation. And news was saying Spain was getting at really bad location, and Portugal and Spain have borders on land. So Portuguese and Spain's borders were all being closed. No one was gonna go in and out without massive security and health checks. The 2 airports at the north of Portugal, luckily Lisbon is south, so at the north of Portugal were shut down. No one was going to fly in or out. Stuff was getting, like, the news was showing how crazy it was getting over there. Not only that, the news also was showing that the elderly are the only ones who are not really taking precautions, are not the ones at risk are not really staying home quarantine. They're still going about their business of going to their little town like coffee stores or bars and just drinking and having fun with their friends, which is crazy. A cool thing is the Portuguese government was actually paying for the return of every single Portuguese person around the globe. So that was something that I've understood. It was really cool, meaning you can get a flight back today, and like whatever flight back is available, and the government is paying for it. So that's super cool. So they were kind of like calling back their nationals. That's pretty interesting. Another interesting thing as well is they had lots of commercials and such in between and constantly going on television, which were explaining how it's nice to wash your hands, and so like very, very informative and very captivating. Something that I've never seen commercials do, but that was pretty cool. And they were talking about the mask, who necessarily needs to use the mask, why is it good to use the mask, how you can hygiene the mask as well if you want to reuse it. They were also talking about the distance that you should maintain from each other and how the virus was propagating. So that was pretty cool. I've loved learning those information. But they were also talking about how people were ransacking and stealing the airports and public places, the alcohol and gel and the desanitizers and like disinfectants and all kinds of things. Toilet paper was being stolen from like public bathrooms at the airport. All kinds of crazy shit. And I'm like, holy fuck, how can people do this? And that's not the tip of the iceberg yet. That's not even the bottom of the iceberg. That's just something that was happening. Another crazy thing is people were going insane. The groceries. I heard something about the Portuguese government, and most of the grocery stores were making supply packs. So if you come over to a grocery and be like, I would like a supply pack, they would give you a supply pack full of toilet paper, food, and stuff like that for you to survive the amount of like 2 weeks at home. So they were giving that out, and they were also giving that to, you know, the elderly for free. And people were still going in and ransacking, stealing these groceries. And I'm like, why are you doing that? Why the hell are you stealing a place that's giving stuff out for free? Anyways, that was insane. That was absolutely insane. Then, by around 4 o'clock or something, I've already seen the news. President has, or I don't know, Prime Minister, I don't know what they have over there. They said that he is in self-quarantine. So he is not going to do the meeting until Wednesday. And that if they issue the lockdown and state of emergency, they're going to do it on Wednesday night, midnight. So, yeah, exactly, Janelle Nasty. Exactly that. People are mugging each other for like toilet paper. So that happened, meaning I had time until Wednesday. So I was like, God, I have time. So that made me very, very like at ease at that time because I could do everything else. So the other news that showed up on TV was that people were selling toilet paper for around 170 euros, 150 euros on eBay or Amazon or places like that. And other people were also selling something that's completely disgusting and you shouldn't do it, which is infected tissues and wipes. That they were literally selling coronavirus infected stuff for people to buy, and the advertisement on their like selling ads was stay at home for 2 weeks paid. Like, what in the name of God are you guys doing? What the fuck, you know? That's like, why would you do that? Again, several people bought it as well, and others were like, this is a scam, and I didn't find it. I'm not gonna link you that, Cobra. Not gonna link you that, dude. You're not getting corona. No, stop doing that. Right, so that's one of the other news that kind of freaked me out. And I'm like, okay, another weird ass news. The Prime Minister of the UK is insane. We already kind of know that in a sense. He's like the Donald Trump of the UK. Sorry, the guys that like Donald Trump, but like at least Donald Trump locked down stuff. The Prime Minister, which people know it's not his idea, but he went to do the public speech and he said, you can say goodbye to all your loved ones and a lot of people will die. And I'm basically saying I'm okay with that. So like, what the fuck? He basically want a mass murder, mass deaths. He's insane. He's like absolutely crazy. Why would you want that? They're not closing the borders. They're not doing anything that's supposed to be precaution. It's a lot of craziness. But from my understanding, a couple of doctors and specialists in that area said that this tactic would be to create a herd immunity. And the idea is that he wants to create, not him, it's not his idea at all. It's the idea of some very, very, very smart people that think they can do that, but he's just the puppet that's talking about that and not really know shit, and then talks that smack and makes it sound horrible. So what they want to do is they want to create a herd immunity, which is very dangerous, very risky, not necessarily proven right, but if it can be done, it will create that the population will have a immunity to the disease because they've figured that the disease you contracted once you can't pick it up again if you recover, and that they will control by opening and closing certain areas at certain times in certain ways, that they will control the amount of people infected to not overrun the hospital and then to give more attention to those at risk. It's interesting. I just don't think it's gonna work. But if it does, I praise them and I think well done. You guys have way more information than I thought you guys had. That's good. But it's like you have to kind of control the amount of people who are being infected. And you've got to control the amount of people who are at risk, who are going to the hospitals. And then you've got to control the amount of people that leave with being recovered and then go in. And then you've got to close schools at a certain time. You've got to close borders at a certain time. You've got to completely shut down economy, like stores and such, at a certain time and reopen it. Yeah, so it's scary. That info map is off. I agree. So that's one of the crazy stuff. Anyways, back to Portugal. 4 o'clock something. I decided that I was gonna go a bit earlier to the place because what if, by chance, they were not only at 5:30 there, they were earlier over there, my documents. So I got there at 4. There were already people queuing over there. Way more than it was at 6 in the morning, which is understandable. And it was only people to pick up their, citizen card. Because passports, pick up the passports too, but to issue them, no, not at all. So I've arrived there, and as I arrive, I see the massive queue. I see the start of the queue, like literally in front of the door. People were cluttering. There was no one giving in the safety distance and such. And it's like, it's not that, oh, it's a tiny spot. No, freak no. It's like you have a freaking entire, like, what would you say, a park. It's a massive, massive area that you could just be. So I went all the way to the back of the queue, and I made sure I kept distance from the guy in front by like at least 2 meters. And then I made sure everyone behind me would keep distance from me from at least 2 meters. So I had my little zone, and I was just waiting. So as I'm waiting, the police has been called because imagine this: the queue is all on this side, close to the wall, close to the glass, close to the entrance. There's a far away, about like, I don't know, 5-10 meters away. There's another wall in which people were just hanging over there. It's just very few. And all of those who were hanging over there had masks, had gloves, were very well contained and everything else. And they were moving in synchrony, like synchronized with the queue. And then when they come to this lady's time, I think what she was doing is she was in queue, but far away from everyone, because everyone was cluttering like stupid people. Anyways, so she was over there, and then she said, all right, my turn has arrived. People in queue freaked out. It was like, you're skipping queue, all kind of shit. Why are you over there? What's wrong? And she starts yelling like hell. Holy shit. She starts yelling, being like, I have traveled from Italy, from Spain, and from France in the past month, and I am here super far away from you guys because I'm not only a doctor, but I want to make sure that I keep the safety distance. And she's yelling, and she said that thing, and the police was called to control the queue, and no one was going in unless the entire queue had given enough space to the person behind. So the police shoved everyone and said, go back, at least 5 to 10 steps behind every single person should do. Dude, that freaked out. That was freaky. Anyways, there were about 30 people in front of me. So I've calculated that based on, you go in, you pick, like only 4 people go in, and then you come out. It takes around 2 minutes for you to get your card. That it wouldn't take that long. So my Brazilian friends, the couple, arrived as well, and then they were in queue right with me. Not together, but separate enough. And we were just talking about all the news and everything else and how they had to go and what was happening. Yeah, I'm still super surprised I went on this trip. So once I got in, it was my turn. I went in, I picked up my citizenship card, and I asked her, so do you know if I can do the passport here? And she's like, no, you might be able to do it at the airport. This person was super nice. She was super nice. She was keeping her distance. She had alcohol and gel available for me, for her. She was keeping her distance, doing everything that she could. And I'm like, all right, I got my thing. I spent less than 2 minutes. I was super informed. Immediately as I left, the wife of my friend who was in there doing his was already ordering an Uber, and the 3 of us would take the Uber and go to the airport immediately, because I have found out that you could do the passport until 7 at night, which is the latest place available to do the passport. And I'm like, awesome. So we got there around 5:30, 5:35 because it's so close, and we kind of got in earlier. As we get in there, shit's even worse. Like, the airport has now a queue, and I'm not joking. I even have the picture. Let me grab the picture. So I'm not joking. The queue goes all the way back. It's like, I've never seen this. I've never seen this in my life. This also, this is outside the airport. This is people waiting to go inside the freaking airport. This is people outside being put in queues specific to their flight and waiting for their check-in time, so they're allowed inside and don't clutter everything, which is a really smart move. But no one, like, I was super far away from that group. I'm like, I'm not staying there close to them at all. They're not maintaining the safety distance, and they're about to travel. What are they thinking? So yeah, exactly, basically waiting for infection. But one thing is for sure, inside the airport, because I didn't need to wait there, because I was not going to board a flight. I was just going to go directly inside. I spoke to the police officer, and he was like, yeah, you can go through the side. So I went through the side and went to the place to get the passport. Got there, empty. It's just me and the 2 people doing the passport, and my 2 friends. One was gonna, the couple. I talk a lot, GNL. I'm sorry, I talk a lot. So we got there, sat down, got to do the passport, and then he said, with extreme urgency, it will be ready by tomorrow 5:30. Diverging a bit to the story, Brianna, my wife, has just sent a message to myself, now at midday, her break, saying that today is the last day. They are a child development care center or something. Basically, they're like a little place to take care, a babysitter's kind of style. It's like a daycare kind of. Yeah, basically kind of like a daycare. So they received a message saying no children will be there after today. Today is the last day, and she works at a military base, which is understandable. It's a nursery slash daycare because they go from 2 months to 6 years old. So tomorrow, no children. And so I'm like, okay, so if there's no children at a daycare or nursery, you don't need to work, right? There's no work to be done. Therefore, why are you guys not sending the employees home to self-quarantine as has been instructed to the base? What happens is, for some reason, the boss decides that they're gonna take every employee and make them work tomorrow to do deep cleaning. Why are you gonna do deep cleaning at a place who's not gonna have children or work for the next 2 weeks? Do it 2 weeks after, you know what I mean? Anyways, so they're gonna have to go tomorrow. Not entirely sure about Friday and not entirely sure about next week, but rumors, and this is interesting, rumors are that they're gonna be forced to work next week. No fucking clue what the hell they're gonna be doing at a place that has no children, that is a child care development center. So like, why? What the fuck's happening? Anyways, I told her that if it comes to that, I am gonna personally call this flight chief, boss, whatever, and I'm gonna talk with him, not face to face, but intelligent person to intelligent person, and hopefully he does it. So I don't know what's gonna happen. I really don't. And anyways, going all the way back to Portugal. So now I had finished obtaining the passport, went outside of the airport, and then at that point is like, all right, I'm going back to my Airbnb, and they're going back to their hotel. So I went directly back to my Airbnb, took the Uber, and just literally passed the crap out. I went there, ate dinner, and slept. I slept until 11. Why? Because I already had my citizenship card and I was just waiting for my passport. Before I did that, I rebooked my flight to 8 o'clock yesterday night. So from a flight that I had booked on Wednesday at 8 at night, I rebooked it to Tuesday, 8 at night. Therefore, I've managed to get my citizenship card day one, and I already asked for my passport, which would have arrived earlier if I had done before 11 in the morning. So Tuesday at around 4 o'clock, I stayed inside the Airbnb. I didn't leave until 4 o'clock. Took a shower, completely packed my stuff. I only had a backpack. Went directly into the airport to pick up my passport, and then go directly to my flight. So it's showing exactly what countries are actually taking care of the proper locations and the proper citizens, and who are being cared for. It's very, very strange, because as we were going to the airport to pick the passport, we could see animals on the street. We could see like things that I've never seen before. There were people literally walking in hazmat styled suits on the street. Like, it was freaking chaos. When I went to the little groceries there, the little shop to buy stuff, people were being blocked from going inside. And it's only staff inside, and you ask what you want and you give them a paper and they'll bring it to you. The happening is going to happen. That's so scary. So that's fine. So I got to the airport, and then mine is Terminal 2 this time instead of Terminal 1. Terminal 1 was that clusterfuck. Terminal 2, they were doing the same thing. They're not only doing the same thing, but they were doing it a bit weird. Terminal 2 is tiny. So everyone was told to wait outside on the bus lane and by the road. There's a massive roundabout at this dead end, and it's just like, okay, I'm gonna isolate myself on the other side of that freaking roundabout and wait for my time. So I was waiting, and all I can see is like people coming in via bus, because that's the only way you can get to Terminal 2 is bus, Uber, or taxi. So people are arriving via bus, they leave the bus, and immediately they're hit with, there's so many people outside, what the fuck's going on? So they had no idea what was happening. And the employees who were over there trying to help, they were not warning or telling people who just arrived by the bus what was going on. And so it was always, because they weren't telling them, it was always people get off there and go directly to the front of the line to ask what's happening, and then clutter the fuck up. So I know for a fact that the police that were there, they had to take people down to hospitals. They had to call ambulances, and like stuff was going insane. There was literally people who were like just passing out, and they were being suspected of having the virus, but I can't say for sure. But the thing is, it's 4 o'clock, 5. Sun is over there because Portugal is hot as fuck. There's not enough wind. We're waiting outside. There's no place with shadow. People were passing out. There were people wearing masks. That mask, when you're outside, it's a horrible idea for you to do unless you actually have the virus or you're feeling sick, because you can't breathe properly with those things necessarily. And if you don't know how to pace yourself, you're gonna pass out. So there were people being escorted out of there, and by the time it arrived at my closer to my flight in which I could go in, lucky for me, I didn't need to dispatch any luggage, so I went straight into security. And because it was like doing by batches, by flights, there was no one in security. So I went straight through security, past security, went into the boarding gate, and then just waited over there. And that's when I start seeing crazy stuff. Apparently a regulation or a rule that they had implemented is that if a staff member sees you feeling and thinks that you're feeling a bit, sweaty, or sees that you're not a normal self, you're a bit sick, or you're just a bit too pale or something like that, they can request you to do a temperature test. And also, if that comes up as you have a fever, immediately you're put into the self-quarantine that they had a specific location inside the airport to do that. There were about 3 people who I saw that happen, and one was freaking and flipping the crap out. He even thrown up chairs around saying he didn't want to take his temperature and blah blah blah, and I'm like, what? Why? What's your problem? Anyways, gladly they were not in my flight, so I got to take the flight home. On the flight home, I finally managed to do one super cool thing, which is I could go through customs here, the security, in less than a minute. I've never been able to do that in the UK, ever. But because I'm now Portuguese, I was able to go through there on the electronic check-in in less than a minute. Of course, there was not a lot of people there, but that's so impressive. I literally just put my passport, there's a camera that gets to my height, look at my face, and say, that is him, open the gate, and I go through, and they'd be like, hell yeah. No questions asked. Doesn't even care if I live here or not. Fuck yeah, So I'm really happy about that, because it just meant I could leave. But I've arrived at 11:15. My flight was 20 minutes earlier, so I arrived at 11:15 instead of 11:35. And I was waiting for Brianna's stepfather to go pick me up, which was awesome, because I managed to do all that in 2 days. I spent a day doing all that stuff. I walked about 10 miles, probably more. I was super nervous, super like feeling that shit was about to go down, getting panicked every corner, seeing people literally see me at the street wearing like a mask on my neck because I wasn't putting the mask if I was on the street, and then they were crossing the street because they didn't want to get close to me, and I just felt okay. I understand the reason, but I'm like, I just felt like a freaking criminal. Like, I'm about to mug him, he goes and runs away kind of style, So that was very scary. That was probably one of the scariest things I've ever experienced. I thought I was gonna get locked down. I thought I was gonna be stranded there and not be able to get back. Miraculously, I've managed to do everything and get home safe. I also don't have a fever, don't have the coronavirus, I believe. I haven't tested for it. But I don't have any sort of like symptoms or anything else. I'm feeling very healthy, just very extremely exhausted mentally and physically. Although I slept a lot today too. So that was pretty nice. Now, one last thing to close this is that if I had stayed and caught my flight at 5:30 today, I wouldn't be able to come, because Portugal is going into lockdown. From my understanding, they have already cancelled every single international flight from 12 today to any other country aside from Europe. So I'm so happy that I'm here. And now we get to stream, play some games, have some fun, and have some Corona experiences by obtaining experience in games, right? Let's do this. Let's do this crazy stuff.